6 months. That's all it took. 6 months after the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese Empire had seemed unstoppable, a tidal wave sweeping across the Pacific. But out here, near a tiny remote atoll named Midway, the tide of war was about to turn. This is the story of how a seemingly inevitable defeat became one of history's greatest victories. By June of 1942, Japan's ambition was immense. Their plan, crafted by the brilliant Admiral Yamamoto, was as cunning as it was audacious. Lure America's last remaining aircraft carriers into a decisive, overwhelming trap. Victory here, Yamamoto believed, would shatter American resolve and secure Japan's dominance for good. They had superior numbers, more experienced pilots, and a string of victories behind them. But the Americans had a secret weapon that no one saw coming. They had broken the Japanese naval codes. They knew the plan. Back at a still-scarred Pearl Harbor, Admiral Chester Nimitz worked in quiet desperation. He had just 3 carriers to face Japan's mighty fleet: the Enterprise, the Hornet, and the Yorktown, which had been hastily patched up after being severely damaged. The odds were stacked against them. As these ships slipped out of harbor and sailed towards their destiny, every sailor knew they might not return. They weren't just fighting for an island, they were fighting for the future of the entire Pacific. The morning of June 4, 1942, dawned clear and calm. The first wave of Japanese planes roared over Midway, bombing the airfield in a storm of fire and steel. It was a powerful blow, but not the decisive one. As the Japanese pilots returned to their carriers to rearm for a second strike, a critical decision was made. It was in that moment of vulnerability that American scout planes finally spotted them. The trap was about to be sprung, but not in the way Japan had intended. What happened next would change the course of world history. At exactly 10:22 a.m., the sky above the Japanese fleet filled with American Dauntless dive bombers. They plunged from the clouds, hurtling down towards their targets. Within 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, the calm Pacific erupted into a maelstrom of chaos and fire. The decks of the Japanese carriers, crowded with fueled and armed planes, became immense funeral pyres. One by one, 3 of Japan's most formidable carriers, the Akagi, the Kaga, and the Soryu, were torn apart by catastrophic explosions. By the end of the day, a 4th, the Hiryu, would also be lost, shattering the backbone of Japanese naval aviation forever. The aftermath was staggering. Japan lost 4 of its finest carriers, hundreds of irreplaceable aircraft, and thousands of its most elite and experienced pilots, a loss from which their navy would never truly recover. America lost 1 carrier, the valiant Yorktown, but they gained something far more precious: the initiative. The momentum had shifted. For the first time since the war began, the Allies were no longer just surviving. They were fighting back. They were on the attack. The Battle of Midway stands as a timeless testament to the power of intelligence, the grit of the underdog, and the profound impact of individual courage. It proved that even in the darkest hours, when defeat seems certain, a few decisive moments can forge a new destiny. From that day forward, the Pacific was no longer a Japanese lake. It was a battlefield on the long, hard road to victory. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. We'll see you in the next one.